Hi everyone, how are you all? Doing good? Having fun? Today we are going to start a completely new journey. An interesting journey of learning something new in taxation, GST. But before that, I really thank you all from the bottom of my heart for selecting me as your educator for this journey, and I assure you that you are most certainly going to enjoy the process of learning GST with me. For those of you who are seeing me for the first time or are not aware about me, I am CA Raj K Agrawal, and I am proud to share that I qualified CA at all levels with all India ranks. And I started my career as a teacher. So, you can say I'm a teacher since the first day of qualifying as a CA. I rejected so many highly paid jobs from multinational companies. I have taught for over 15 years and have successfully instructed more than 1 lakh students who are undergoing CA, CS and CMA programs. I am engaged in teaching income tax, GST, accounting, cost accounting and financial management. And also I have a very important disclaimer to share. The language of my lecture is going to be a mix of Hindi and English. Approximately I will be using around 70% Hindi. And if you are someone who does not understand Hindi quite well, these lectures will not be quite relevant for you. To make the best use of my lectures by making notes, make sure you keep a notebook and pen handy. Note down whatever I tell you. Whenever I teach a provision, after that I make sure to also explain it with an example, so that your concept is cleared with a practical touch. And I create those examples instantly then and there in the classroom, which further allows me to relate exactly to that provision which I have taught. See, the purpose of learning taxation from me is not just to qualify in the exams, but to also excel in your individual professional life. GST is an indirect tax. So if we have to understand GST, it is essential for us to understand that what is indirect tax. I know that you must be aware that there are usually two types of taxes, direct tax and indirect tax. So whenever we pay taxes to the government directly, that is direct tax. When we do not pay taxes directly to government, but instead we pay tax to the government through a trader, then those are called indirect taxes. In short, if we say, if we directly give taxes to the government, then it is a direct tax. But if I paid the tax, not directly to government, taxes that reach the government through some trader, so that would be an indirect tax. Direct taxes are levied on individuals, right, as we are persons. And that person can be a natural living being and can also be an artificial person. Later on, we will talk about natural persons and artificial persons. We are individuals. The taxes that are imposed on us are called direct taxes, right? Such as income tax, and income tax is paid directly to the government by the person who earns. And that's why income tax is a direct tax. The tax levied on goods and services are considered to be an indirect tax. So, what have you understood? Tax imposed on individuals is direct tax, and tax applied on goods and services is indirect tax. When we buy any of the goods and services, we pay the tax straight to the seller from whom we have purchased the goods and services. Then that seller delivers those tax to the government. Hence, in case of goods and services, although we pay the tax, but not directly to government, I paid taxes to the person from whom I bought goods and services. And how those taxes reach the government? They reach government directly through that seller. In this case, we have paid the taxes indirectly to the government. That's why this is considered indirect tax. You know that when we pay tax directly to government, it often feels like a tedious thing to do, because we are paying hard-earned money to the government in the name of taxes. We think that we earned this money. Now from this earning, we have to give a part to the government. We have to take out the money that we earned and then give it to the government. Paying direct taxes is hurtful. Whereas, anytime when we buy something from a seller, we pay indirect taxes on services we avail, but never realize that or feel hurtful while paying. When you buy a mobile worth 20,000, do you know that there is a tax imposed on it of around 3,000? But you happily buy a 20,000 rupees mobile phone, you don't even feel the pain because you don't even know that the tax is included in it. We are not paying anything separately. If we bought a mobile for 20,000, then we are satisfied that we got what we spent for and did not pay anything extra on it. You are paying indirect tax in such high amount, you don't realize it. You have already paid taxes on all the products you purchased since this morning. You are paying tax on everything you buy on daily use products like toothpaste, soap and shampoo. But you don't feel the pain because you are not paying the tax separately from cash. We travel, buy flight tickets, eat and stay at hotel. We are always paying indirect taxes. But we don't care about it at all. There are some things on which you pay so much tax, but on those things you don't feel the pain of paying. If you buy a car worth 25 lakh rupees, roughly 7 lakh rupees of that amount is taxes. Yes. You don't feel the pain because you bought a car worth 25 lakh rupees. But if you had to pay a direct tax, an income tax of 1 lakh rupees, then it would hurt. You know why? Because we have to pay 1 lakh rupees from our pocket to the government separately. Direct tax. The only direct tax levied on people is income tax. Nowadays, it's the only one tax which is applicable. Before the year 2014, other direct tax existed. Wealth tax, now it doesn't. Okay, now wealth tax has been abolished since the 2014 budget. It has not existed since. In the category of direct taxes, there is only one tax and that is income tax. There are many taxes in the category of indirect taxes. But after the introduction of GST, their list has become smaller. When did GST come? In 2017. So, why did this happen? Because many taxes were removed and GST was imposed instead of those taxes. Hence, the list of indirect taxes reduced because many taxes were removed and replaced by a single tax. Now I have a question for you. What do you think? Government generates more revenue from direct or indirect taxes? Government earns more revenue from indirect taxes and comparatively lesser revenue from direct taxes. And I have already told you, the public feels less pain when they have to pay indirect taxes. From government's perspective, indirect taxes are less painful for public, yet earns higher revenue. You know what the government has planned? As with time, indirect taxes like GST collection increases. They will reduce direct taxes. Because in practicality, indirect taxes can generate more revenue, right? And in indirect taxes, people don't feel the pain. Isn't that a good thing? So let's focus on indirect taxes and let the direct taxes be. As direct tax revenue is lately low. In fact, a BJP leader known as Subramaniam Swamy, you know what he says? He says that income tax should be completely abolished from our country. And we should only give most attention to GST. The amount of resources the government spends on income tax collection. Given that the manpower involved in the income tax department and all the expenses that are continuously recurring for the collection. If all those resources were diverted to GST, although it is correct that the GST has its own resources allocated by the government, but if the resources used for income tax collection are also used for GST, then the revenue generated from GST will marginally increase. Meaning the increase in GST revenue. That will be much more than the total revenue generated from income tax. And public will be happy, they won't be in pain. The annual revenue from income tax as of today, do you know how much is it? It is 19 lakh crore rupees. This has increased a lot. Because after the Modi government came to power, people realized black money would no longer work. I will have to show my income and pay the taxes rightfully. When the BJP government came to power in 2014, do you know how much income tax collection was at that time? The annual revenue from income tax was around 6 lakh crore, which has now reached 19 lakh crore rupees. Growth has been more than 200% since last decade. Now we will discuss indirect taxes as there are many. The major taxes that we will discuss are GST, custom duty, electricity duty and stamp duty. And there are many others. I am just talking about GST right now. Only GST's monthly revenue, the collection that comes to the government every month from GST, is between 1.75 lakh crore to 2 lakh crore. It is between 1.75 lakh crore and 2 lakh crore. meaning that on an average basis, considering the current situation, the revenue is estimated to go up to around 22 lakh crore rupees. Revenue generated from GST marginally surpasses the revenue of income tax. Indirect tax include many other taxes and they generate a significant amount of revenue, whereas GST alone gives a much higher revenue than that of income tax. For these taxes that we are paying, people file returns. Returns are details like income tax returns in which people state how much income they have. GST return shows total sales and collection. This information helps in calculating tax payable. If we talk about the number of income tax returns, then approximately as of now in our country, currently there are around 8 crore returns which are filed. That 8 crore people file for their income tax returns. Our country's population is 140 crore, out of that 8 crore file tax returns. It is very low. This means that out of 140 crore people, only 8 crore people file for their tax returns. Very less. Okay? Only 1.13 crore returns are filed from the GST return. Upon rounding of this figure, it makes it just 1 crore. That only 1 crore GST return are filed out of a population of 140 crore, which is very less. Now you will think GST returns are filed less. But here, what is there to understand? Individual who earns an income and files a return, whether they are business or a salaried employee, they have to file for income tax return. But the GST returns are filed only by those who are in business, right? Right? So whether they are a service provider or a goods seller or a manufacturer, they file GST return. Only those in business are filing GST returns and whose turnover exceeds a specified limit. If they are small traders, they are a small business not even registered with GST, they don't file GST returns. Since individuals filing for GST are less, thus government has to deploy very little resources for it. Even a very low return is generating a lot of money for government. There are high income tax returns, but the money is still less. Understood? So I hope now you have some clarity on what this subject of indirect taxes actually is. So this was a brief introduction of what indirect taxes are. I hope now you have well familiarized yourself with this new subject. Indirect tax. Today I have introduced you to what indirect tax is and made you familiar with this concept. I hope you had fun in this class and are ready to learn on this entire journey with me in which we will discuss everything related to taxes. Bye bye. See you in the next class.